friends, welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are all doing really well. So today we're going to do another tag video and I'm so excited to do this one. So this one fits right in with Old School April if you've been keeping up with that. And this is an original tag by Kelsi from Slime and Slashers, and this is the Goosebumps versus the Are You Afraid of the Dark tag. So I had to jump on this one because it's right up my alley. I love both series and the questions are just so much fun. So hopefully you guys enjoy tags, and if you're into nostalgia or Old School April at all, I can guarantee you're probably gonna like this one. So if you decide to make a video yourself, please go ahead and do so and make sure to tag Kelsi as the original creator and let me know so I can go watch your video as well. So question number one of this tag is, what is your favorite Goosebumps book? So I actually picked two because for one, I have my YTV Skull shirt on today. So for one, because Goosebumps number one, which came out in 1992, so I would have been 10. So I got into the Goosebumps series very early, kind of right when it came out. I was 10 years old, so I was right in the target audience. And I can't remember a whole lot about this book now, like right now, but it sticks out to me from when I was a kid that I loved this book. So I'm going to be starting a Goosebumps reread this year because I do have most of the originals and I am going to be getting to this one. So really excited to reread it and kind of remember what the story is about. But from right now, I just remember that I really enjoyed this one. But last year I read Camp Horror during the summer, and part of that I read The Horror at Camp Jelly Jam, which is number 33. So Welcome to Dead House, of course, is the very first Goosebumps, and The Horror at Camp Jelly Jam was number 33. And I loved rereading this book. It was so good. I didn't know which way it was gonna go. They got King Jelly Jam, who's like an ooey gooey creature, and these kids who are at this crazy camp, this creepy ass camp counselor who has like, you know, a sinister grin kind of thing. And this had all of it. So it had a monster, it had kind of, you know, paranormal sort of creepy stuff going on. It had a situation where you're not sure where these kids are gonna get out of it. It had the ooey gooey, of course, which you're gonna love as a younger child or someone who's a kid at heart, of course. And I was here for it. I loved it. So The Horror at Camp Jelly Jam. And number two, favorite Goosebumps episodes. So I think Kelsi had this one as hers as well. I can't quite remember, but the Haunted Mask was terrifying. It was absolutely terrifying. It sticks out in my head so well, and I haven't watched that episode for quite some time, but I am hoping to put it on here pretty soon. I'm trying to collect all of the Goosebumps episodes. You can get the DVDs that have like a couple of episodes on them, and this was just absolutely terrifying. And of course the book, I think always the book is going to be a little bit better. It's going to be a little bit more in depth because of course the show, you know, by the time you put commercials in it, was just over 20 minutes long. But it was absolutely terrifying, and I remember it did freak me out as a kid, so I definitely got to go with that one. Number three, have you read any Are You Afraid of the Dark books? If so, what did you think? And if not, which would you like to possibly read? So I haven't read any of the novelizations. I just started collecting them this year. These are super rare. So I have The Tale of the Horrifying Hockey Team. I have The Tale of the Sinister Statues, and I have The Tale of Restless House. So I think out of the ones that I have, I'm most excited to read this one, The Tale of the Restless House, because this is kind of like a haunted house story where these kids are like playing a prank and one kid goes into the house and he disappears. They can't find him, so they have to try to find out what's going on with this crazy house and what happened to their friend. So it says it's a nightmare with no way out. So definitely this one, because I mean we all know my love of haunted houses. And question number 4 is favorite episode or episodes of Are You Afraid of the Dark? Now, I did a collaboration video with Kelsi. I'm not sure if it's out yet. I'm not sure when it's being released. But I talked extensively about Are You Afraid of the Dark and how it's Canadian. And of course, I grew up with it as a kid. And YTV's Dark Night had new episodes that they would play on Halloween in this huge, like, virtual Halloween party that they had. And I just love that show. I love it. But the one episode that always sticks out in my head, both from back when I was a kid and from what I'm rewatching now, is right from season 1. It's The Tale of the Lonely Ghost. And this one is about this girl who goes to stay with her aunt and uncle and her cousin for the summer, and she's really excited. She's kind of an outcast. She's a little bit of a nerd, and she goes to stay with her aunt and her cousin and everything, and her cousin isn't what she thinks that she's going to be. She's really mean, and her group of friends invite this girl, I can't remember her name, out to hang out with them and stuff. But they play a trick on her by saying that the house next door is haunted, and they say, you know, she has to go in and spend the rest of the night in the house, and then if she survives, then she can kind of be part of their group, part of their clique. And little do these girls know that the house is actually haunted. So this girl, I believe her name is Amanda, goes into the house, and you know, it's really spooky and everything. It's in the nighttime. She's in there by herself, and I mean, these girls are like, what, 12 or 13, I guess. And a ghost of a little girl appears to her, and she starts writing "help me" on the wall, but she's writing it backwards and in crayon. So she just keeps writing "help me, help me, help me," and she's freaked out and she doesn't know what to do. And so the story goes on. Turns out that this little girl is kind of like living in the mirror in this house. And it's just crazy. It's really crazy. I love that episode. It's really good. So when The Conjuring came out, which is one of my 2 favorite movies of all time, and the scene at the beginning when Ed and Lorraine Warren are talking about Annabelle, and Annabelle is writing "Miss Me" in the red crayon all over the house or all over the room, it reminded me of that episode, and that episode definitely freaked me out as a kid. So whether it's from back in the day or from what I've rewatched so far now, that is definitely my favorite episode. Of course, it's about a ghost in a haunted house. And question number 5, you must choose between the television shows. You can only pick one show to keep, the other will cease to exist. Which do you keep? Either Goosebumps or Are You Afraid of the Dark? And this was such a cruel question, because when you think about it, like, the other one ceases to exist, like it's just totally erased, and I can't imagine having a childhood without one of these shows. But ultimately, I had to pick Are You Afraid of the Dark? I think because for me and the age that I was, number 1, it came out first. It was Canadian, so we were very exposed to it. Goosebumps came a little bit later, so it was very integral for me in kind of my development as a horror geek and someone who loved spooky stories. The other thing is, I think Are You Afraid of the Dark, for the most part, is a little bit darker. Goosebumps I found to be a little bit lighter, but maybe that's because it came out a little bit later, because Are You Afraid of the Dark started, I believe, in 1990 or 91, and then the Goosebumps came out in 95, so I would have been 13 in 1995. So maybe that's why, I'm not really too sure. But if I had to pick one and the other one ceases to exist, I gotta go with Are You Afraid of the Dark? And number 6, which show had the best theme song? Yes, both are great, but you must choose one. Don't include the visuals, the style of the open in your decision. Just consider the songs. If I go with just the song, I've got to go with Goosebumps. So I'm kind of going against my own recommendation here of I loved Are You Afraid of the Dark more, but the Goosebumps theme was just so catchy. Even though it was a little bit lighter, it was a little bit lighthearted. Even now as an adult, it frequently gets stuck in my head with the do, and I just walk around the house singing it. So I gotta go with Goosebumps for that one if you're just considering the music. And question number 7, so this is a little bit of an expansion on the last question. So it's which show had the better overall open? So music, visuals, sound effects, logo reveal, all combined. So for this one, I would have to go with Are You Afraid of the Dark? So Goosebumps takes it for just the music alone, but overall, the Are You Afraid of the Dark opening, I think, is one of the best openings of all time. It's creepy, it's dark, you have the fog and the boat and this creepy doll, you know, and striking the match where it comes up, and you know, you have the kind of spooky singing in the background. So like I said, if you ask me, this is one of the best openings, the best introductions of any show of any time. So like I said in Kelsi's collab, you guys can debate me if you want, but I think this one is going to take the cake for me every single time. And number 8, you can only pick one franchise. The other will cease to exist. Which franchise are you choosing to keep and why? Either Goosebumps or Are You Afraid of the Dark? Consider each as a whole franchise, books and shows combined. So again here, I would have to go with Are You Afraid of the Dark? I think it's just, I don't know, it's darker. Now, I haven't read any of the books, so I might change this kind of at a later date, but as of now, I still have to go with Are You Afraid of the Dark being more superior in my book. It's just like, I kind of think about the two as sort of Halloween decorations. So Goosebumps is your jack-o'-lanterns and your cackling witches and, you know, candy and trick-or-treating and all of that. And Are You Afraid of the Dark is the darker, more gothic, haunted houses, creepy things, creepy toys, people turning into dolls because they get sucked into doll houses and stuff like that. So I think overall, I like the ambiance of the Are You Afraid of the Dark more so than the Goosebumps. And maybe, like I said, that's because the Goosebumps came out at a later time. Are You Afraid of the Dark I was into a little bit earlier, and it was so integral in my own development as a horror freak. But I definitely have to go with that one. So, like I said, you can debate me, but I think I gotta go with that one. Number 9, and this is more of a lighthearted conversation than trying to pick between these two amazing franchises. But number 9 is your favorite 90s snack. And mine isn't just from the 90s, but I think I'm gonna go with like my favorite chocolate bar. So here in Canada, we have a chocolate bar that's called Coffee Crisp. And it's the most fantastic chocolate bar I've ever had, and probably a lot of other people have ever had. Us Canadians, we really love our coffee, and even as a kid, I loved Coffee Crisp, and I think that's because I really loved the smell of my parents' coffee when they were making it in the morning. And so I remember, you know, getting my trick-or-treat bag and stuff like that, and I always loved the mini Coffee Crisps out of there. It's got wafers, and like I said, it tastes like coffee on the inside, and then it's chocolate on the outside. And that combination with coffee and chocolate is still something I love. Like, even in the mornings when I have my morning coffee, usually I will have something chocolate with it. And it's always been coffee, chocolate. So Coffee Crisp from the 80s, 90s, and now is ultimately my favorite snack. And number 10, share any general thoughts, feelings, and or memories about either of these two franchises or about both. So I said it in Kelsi's video as well, and I'll talk about it here also. So you have, I'm wearing my YTV Dark Knight skull top today, and that's what really sticks out in my head to me. I loved Halloween so much as a kid. You know, Halloween and fall is like a big thing these days. Like, people are like, oh, fall, and you know, I can't wait for the pumpkin spice lattes, and I love Halloween and all of that. But that's a fairly new thing. Like, when I was growing up, you were weird if you liked fall and you liked Halloween and you liked darkness and you liked creepy things. Like, I was the weird one, absolutely. But on Halloween, I was at my happiest. We would dress up in school, and you know, we would have our Halloween parties and stuff like that in school, and then you would go trick-or-treating. Of course, I grew up in a haunted Victorian. I put some pictures up in my vlog that I did for the Time Watchers, and that was just the best night. And then of course YTV came out with Dark Knight, I believe 1990 or 91 was probably their first year that they did it. And for the first couple of years, what it was they would play back to back to back to back episodes of Are You Afraid of the Dark? And the YTV VJs, which they're video jockeys, so they would come on in between the shows, kind of like, you know, DJs come on in between songs on the radio and stuff like that. And they would dress up, and there was opportunities to win prize packs, and people would write into the shows, and they would do skits and all kinds of things. So we would run home. We would cut our trick-or-treating short and get home to experience YTV's Dark Night. It was the best Halloween party, and I was always really bullied really badly as a kid. So anything that I could find joy in, I really grasped onto. So that just the fact of on Halloween in a haunted Victorian, watching this virtual Halloween party with all, like, you know, Are You Afraid of the Dark was my favorite show, and they would show back-to-back episodes, and then they would do that every year. Like, it was a huge thing here in Canada. It was huge. And then as the years went on, they would incorporate, so they would do Are You Afraid of the Dark, and then they would do Goosebumps, and then they would do Buffy, and then they would do like some other shows and stuff like that, and it just became this huge deal. So of course, I'm a lover of Goosebumps as well, and Buffy and all of those, so Dark Night I've talked about several times now on the channel, and that is one thing that sticks out in my head as a kid, even more so than like Christmases or anything like that, that it was just such a happy time for me. Like I said, as a kid who was bullied, and I was the weirdo, and I was kind of, you know, I was a nerd and an outcast, anything that I could grasp onto that would make me really happy really sticks out in my head. So that's, you know, my memory of these wonderful shows and this wonderful Halloween party, this virtual Halloween party that we had with everyone on YTV. And of course we would go to school the next day or on Monday or whatever and talk about it, and everybody participated, everybody watched it. So that was a huge thing when I was growing up. So that is definitely my biggest memory that sticks out from all of this stuff. So this was a great tag. Old School April was a great idea. I watched a ton of really great movies, not all horror movies either, like just great movies from the 80s and 90s. And even though I was in my reading slump, I did read some great books as well. So I'm going to be having a wrap-up, an Old School April wrap-up coming in May once I get through everything. But this was a great tag. I mean, Goosebumps and Are You Afraid of the Dark, two of my favorite shows of all time, anytime. I mean, I'm almost 40 years old, so I've watched a lot of TV in my time, and these two are definitely two of my favorites. So thank you again, Kelsi, for putting together this tag. I will tag everyone to do a video of their own if you love these two shows, and of course, give me a thumbs up if you like the video. Leave me a question or comment down below. Which one out of these two is your favorite? I would love to know. But until next time, stay spooky, everybody. Bye.